Hello there, toy collectors. My name is Kevin, aka Toying Around, and I am very excited to bring you this special review.
If anything, the Kim family, they're archetypes.
Which is sad, but not always a bad thing.
I'm okay, I have one. Do you see all the name?
Let's try them. Let's still try.
What's up, everyone? How's it going? Just doing something new on the channel. Instead of Unboxing Thursdays or a toy review, I'm going to be sitting down and chatting with Ricky from Plunderlings, the very popular toy line that's been killing it in 2020 and 2021, and also Shaun from Hypefaction and TAxHF.
And thanks for having me.
Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Very good.
Thanks for coming on.
To be here.
And you guys all do really awesome stuff. And while this is not an Unboxing Thursday episode where I usually sit down with people that I know, such as yourself, who make really cool stuff, but you're all collectors too. And while we're not unboxing stuff today per se, I'd still love to hear a lot about what you guys have to do in the community, and how you feel about toys, because that's what everyone who's watching, that's what we all love. So let's start with Shaun first. Shaun, what do you do, man?
So for me, as you already know, I'm a part of TAxHF. Usually handle a lot of the illustrations, graphic design. That is my thing. And aside from that, I am a collector of Marvel Legends figures. Recently, I am starting to get a little bit more into these Storm collectibles. It's probably because of the new Mortal Kombat movie that's coming out. And yeah, if I could probably show off one, it's love this guy right here. Can't go wrong with a little Scorpion.
Cool. Did you call him Little Scorpion?
Yeah, I can't go wrong with a little Scorpion. I'm a tiny little guy.
Cool, man. Cool. And we have Ricky. Ricky, how about you? I don't think a lot of people know about you. Why don't you let the people hear who you are?
Yeah, I work with Plunderlings. There's a lot of people who are involved in the project and help make it what it is. A special shout out to Art from Sebadome, who worked on sculpting all the figures. And yeah, if I had to give myself a title, maybe something like Creative Director, kind of overseeing the project, seeing how everything comes together. And it was a long journey, and we're really excited that that so many people out there seems to enjoy them, and because it was a lot of years in the making.
Yeah, man, definitely the toy community has really welcomed Plunderlings with open arms. It's something new and something refreshing on the scene. So, I think it was really cool that was this the first Kickstarter?
Yeah, well, yes, it was definitely our first action figure Kickstarter. It was the first Kickstarter as Lone Coconut. I had experience kickstarting a documentary in the past, so I had some experience in the platform, but this was a totally different project, and we were really lucky to have a lot of great collaborators and deliver on the promises that we had made. Because all we wanted from the start was to make a really high quality action figure. I'm a collector myself, so I kind of knew what I always wanted on the figures, kind of what I don't like, and tried to really kind of put together everything that I always kind of hope for, as well as taking some lessons that we have from having an animation department too, and taking to kind of a lot of lessons from animation in terms of articulation and appealing shapes and an appealing character in general. That's what we really wanted to do. We wanted to make something new and something fun and something that had spirit.
Right.
To say it like
well,
that.
There's definitely a lot of character and spirit on the expressions of these little guys, these little Plunderlings. But you say, you're a collector yourself. What kind of stuff do you collect? What kind of stuff did you grow up with?
I'm pretty eclectic with what I'm collecting now as an adult. I'm not following any particular line, but I'm a big fan of the stuff that Super 7's putting out, and a lot of Mayfex. Pretty all over the place. Basically, I'm more drawn to characters than I am to particular lines.
Right.
And when I was a kid, Ninja Turtles were like a big thing.
Yeah, same here.
And then basically growing up, making, I think in a way that my playing habits when I was a kid, in terms of like, grouping up different toys and doing like strange team ups, kind of translate to my collecting style now, where I just kind of get different characters from different stuff, that I'm drawn to. Sometimes even stuff that I don't necessarily know the IP from, but the characters themselves I find interesting.
Yeah, that's good. Because there's a lot of new properties out there, new IPs, new original content. So a lot of those really survive basically if there's a following. People are willing to embrace something new on the scene, right?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing, kind of the biggest risk about Plunderlings in general, that it's not a known brand. And the action figure, adult collector action figure genre is a lot made up of properties from the 80s and the 90s being re-released now and being updated, which I think is great because I love buying that stuff too. But I also think it's cool and maybe even important to try to do new stuff as well, because I think there's a lot of interesting things to experience and to enjoy about action figures that kind of go beyond just the nostalgia factor. And if I get that that's some things that an enjoyment that people get out of it, I also get that enjoyment out of some figures. But I think there's more to it than just that. I think it's more than just kind of like a dose of nostalgia or like a childhood trip. I think there's lots of different ways to enjoy action figures. And I love to see more original stuff out there. What Spiro's doing with Animal Wars: The Kingdom, Toy Pizza with their Knights of the Slice. Like, I'd love to see more of that sort of stuff, and that's the type of stuff that we're interested in doing right now ourselves. Not so much, revisiting these older brands.
Right. And we've had this conversation before where it seems like you can really get stuck in a rut if you're just either as a collector or as if you're a creator making toys. It's like, I got to get this because it reminds me of my childhood, and I got to get this because I love this growing up. But, how much of your collection space can you dedicate to, just this nostalgia and memories? And how long is that feeling for? Like you get this toy that you get the dopamines, I guess. Is that what it is? And you get that feeling, and then it just dies sometimes. Maybe a month later, maybe a couple months later. It's kind of it could be a little bit stagnant, right?
Yeah. Again, I think everyone gets the enjoyment that they get out of their collection. But I think there is something to be said about I feel like even people who become like focused on I don't know, like the high school quarterback or something that like was a star in high school and then like never really moved past it in a way, that if that person is only living in that past memory, I think it limits what they're going to do in the future. And I'm not talking about collectors. I'm talking about just like as a society, and as like to have culture keep evolving and progressing and not become kind of in retirement mode, where it's kind of like, remember that cool thing that I did 20 years ago? And that's all you can talk about. I think that it's I'm really interested in seeing new properties and new stuff come out as well, along with the re-releases or the reboots and all this other sort of media that we're seeing. I think it's important to also appreciate and support these new things, because if not maybe culture kind of stagnates a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that so that's kind of my, take a little bit. And the part that was most nerve-wracking about releasing Plunderlings was whether or not it would get this sort of acceptance. And so I'm happy to see that it has, and that people are excited about new stuff, and that it doesn't have to be licensed property is the only thing that people are interested in. Yeah, I'm really excited to see that the community seems to have embraced Plunderlings, and there's plenty of other people who are also pushing out new ideas and original IPs, like Agent Gomez from Mezco, and Mythic Legions with their Four Horsemen's Mythic Legion series. I think there's a lot of stuff to explore.
Well, I think when you think about all those brands that you just mentioned and all those properties, those are all backed with really quality figures too, right? The Gomez body from Mezco is probably one of the most like posable or like the best ones to use for kit bashing for people in 1/12 scale. So that's one of the reasons that Gomez sells so well, even with no real backstory for. Well, I guess there's a bit of lore behind it, but there's no it's not your typical TV show selling toys kind of merchandising line where something is, there's this huge universe behind it to back the sales. And also with Mythic Legions, really incredible sculpts and high quality toys. Shaun, our friend Ray is really, really deep into Mythic Legions right now. And I've owned one. I've seen a lot of the pictures too.
Huge.
And it's quality stuff. And especially with Plunderlings, I mean, ever since I had the test shot in hand, I knew this is really, everything works so well. It's so crazy to see if this is how a test shot worked, the final product, it wasn't that far off. Yeah. Shaun, you're the artist for TAxHF. You've done classic Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures. What was it like doing Plunderlings, something new?
Well, I think in terms of what it was like to actually come up with the design and I really wanted to try and stay true to the original concept of it. So just so I can hold one up here. Really and truly, it's such a cute kind of round shape. So also including the art style that we bring to our t-shirts, which would really be that solid colors, thicker strokes. But to also, stay true to what the design is. So I don't know if I have it here properly, but in regards to these big forearms here, the hands, the shape of the ears, and with working with Ricky on that as well, and having his say, we were able to come up with something, that I think is a great product, especially in regards to the, I don't know if we can see it probably right here, but even with the gradient and the ears, I love that because it's the same thing on the figures as well.
Here I'm wearing the Captain Teal.
Yes. I'm wearing the Zombone, so I don't think we need to all stand up. But I think this is a great point in the conversation to mention that Plunderlings. Ricky, why don't you let everyone know that where they can still order their Plunderlings if they haven't gotten any yet, or if they need to add more to their collection? Where can you pre-order right now?
Yeah, we have 6 of the variants up for pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. You can pre-order them directly off of there. And and then we hope to be bringing more stuff to the line soon. We have a couple surprises coming up. We want to keep the Plunderverse growing with more Plunder folk.
Oh, Plunderverse.
Yeah. So here's I think I've shown pictures before, or 3D models before. We got the Plunder Strong.
Ooh.
There he is. There he is flexing. This is still a fine cut, so there's still a lot of parts that aren't functional yet on it. We're updating some things. Seb is working on it right now. That we're updating some parts, trying to make it even more functional. But you were saying with the quality of the figure. I mean, to give a lot of credit to Seba and his he's definitely a master sculptor. But we also spent a lot of time on it. Getting everything right and iterating that. It's kind of a luxury that we had since it's an indie property. We didn't have a licensing agreement that's going to expire on a certain date. that we got to really spend time on it. We're doing the same thing with the Plunder Strong. We want to have it, have it up again maybe for this year, but we really want to make sure we get it right to keep to make sure that everything Plunderlings related is high quality. And yeah, I mean, it's a dream to be able to make action figures. So I want to make sure that we make the action figures that people dream of having.
Super cool. Along with the pre-orders for the Plunderlings on BBTS and Entertainment Earth right now, you can also pre-order the line of t-shirts, the first 3 from TAxHF. The website is taxhf.ca. There are currently 3 designs for the Fwoosh Raider or Raider Fwoosh, Captain Teal, and the Zombone, which Shaun and I are wearing. Ricky has the Captain Teal on here. And you can see, like true to TAxHF's layout and motif, all of the accessories on these figures and all the head swaps and accessories are all presented with really nice bright colors on these shirts too. So these are fantastic. You can pre-order those until May the 2nd, and you might as well get them along with your Plunderlings figures.
So another thing that we're working on, that we know that the Plunderlings Drench are in high demand since they were Kickstarter exclusives, and those 2 colorways are going to continue being exclusives, but we want to keep adding more to that race of characters, and also make sure that people get the figures that they want. So we're looking into maybe reissuing them in different varieties, and this one in particular was developed. The concept art, he was involved in Plunderlings too, was by Ralph Neese. He was an amazing artist that used to work on the Glyos line. He unfortunately passed away earlier this year. We're going to make this action figure to also kind of respect, all his contributions to the line.
Oh man!
So I'm not sure. I don't, for a little quick reveal. That's what you
nice.
Get. That's all we can show right now. But we'll have more news on that soon. Stay tuned. We're excited to keep adding more stuff to this, because I think there's a lot of things that we can explore in this new universe that we're creating.
Yes. Adding to the Plunderverse. Ricky, with Plunderlings, was there like a gap in the market where you're just like, hey, there's something here that I can make and fit into this untapped part of the market? Or was Plunderlings like this property where you're just like, I really want to do this, and I'm just going to find a way to get this done? Or is it just a combination of both, where you just saw an opportunity and you're like, this is probably like the best thing that I really want to make to put out there?
Yeah, again, it was definitely a team effort that we're trying to come up with something new, and because we have our studios based in Dominican Republic, we wanted to create like a fantasy universe based in the Caribbean, and then in terms of the general art direction, like I guess it was kind of, if it's inspired by anything, I'd say kind of like the cartoonier world of like World of Warcraft or something like that, because we were drawn to that kind of colorful style because it seemed to fit the Caribbean in general, kind of move away from these sort of like earth tones that a lot of other fantasy universes have, which is very, very about woods and, snowy forests and mountains, and the orcs are dark gray. Like, we really wanted to have something vibrant. And so there's a lot, there's a lot of world building going on in the background that like hopefully is transmitted through the toys. I think it'll become more apparent as we release other things like comics and different creatures. But the idea is to kind of build a fantasy universe that takes place in the Caribbean, that feels unique, and that and also kind of subverts different sort of tropes, that it's not so much the humans versus the monsters, which is right. Kind of like a reoccurring thing you see in fantasy. It's always the group of peaceful villagers get attacked by an invader, and the invader's different and they're weird, and the only solution is to kill them. I feel like there's some kind of like maybe like nationalistic undertones there that I don't necessarily agree with. And so with the Plunderlings world, we really want to make it all about the monsters, you know, who are like nomadic and they're pirates and they travel to different places and they're explorers, and kind of move away from the territorial, you know, humans versus monsters dispute, like, or
Right.
the darkness that's coming from deep within the forest. You know, like as much as I love Tolkien and love all that tradition, I think there's more that you can do with it. And I think the fantasy universe, very similar to like the science fiction universe, kind of belongs to everyone. It's kind of like a playground for the imagination. And so I'm really curious to see what other people do in the fantasy universe too, moving forward from different cultures. And I want to see what, you know, different cultures take on the science fiction universes. It's kind of like a fertile ground for the imagination. And so we're trying to take a tiny piece of that and bring something fresh to the table.
Right. Well, I mean, you've seen from social media, a lot of people are playing and posing with these figures, and you know, they're putting them in a lot of different scenarios, just like kind of like how you're hoping, right? And it's from the expressions on these characters, all of those tones about the things you're saying you're trying to avoid. I don't think anyone's really thinking of that ultimately, because when you look at some of these, it's just like how does it not bring a smile to your face? They're so cool. They all come with their own accessories. Like some of them do they all have magnetized hats, or they're all magnetized and some have hats?
They all have magnetized heads, and all the hats that we've made have magnets in them.
That's awesome.
So some of them are even stackable because of that. Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
Yeah, but like Zombone's helmet, for example, you can stack another one on top of it. A lot of people have fun with that. But yeah, and there's a couple of them that, even though their heads are magnetized, like the fawns, only certain hats fit them because of the horns. But we're going to try to keep them as cross-compatible as possible, but we don't want to... we want to make the best design decision as well, to make sure that they all feel interesting and different, you know?
No, I love that a lot of the accessories are interchangeable between characters.
And one thing that maybe wasn't clear, because it was an oversight, because I don't usually look at instructions for anything. You know, I don't keep boxes. I just open them up and you know, start playing with the figure. But the shoulders can pop off, and you can change the shirt accessories as well between the characters.
Oh, the vests?
Yeah.
And all the shirts? Nice.
Yeah, all that's cross compatible too. And speaking of boxes, big shout out to Wanted Rabbit, who did these beautiful boxes.
Yes.
Also helped bring a smile to people's faces. You know, that's what we really wanted to capture. We wanted to capture kind of unapologetic happiness with these Plunderlings. We got a little bit of flack for not having more expressions on them. Like people wanted angrier faces, but it didn't feel right. It felt like Plunderlings, their character was mischievous and happy and up to no good and very much enjoying life. And so we kind of doubled down on the happiness. And
I feel like the only thing they'd be angry over is like if one took a sandwich out of the hands of another one. He's just like, hey man, that's my sandwich. That would be the only situation I could see them being really angry. There's a lot of really cool accessories, a lot of weapons. Do you have plans to release like a weapons pack or accessories pack? Because a lot of your photos they have a lot of props in them together, and makes everything look really nice all together.
Yeah, for the Kickstarter we offered 2 accessory packs, a steel accessory pack and a wood accessory pack. It kind of had accessories thematically organized. And we're going to offer those again in the future. We're still kind of organizing what's left of the inventory to kind of put them up, as well as the hatchlings, which a lot of people have been asking about. The hatchlings are the small bodies, where you can put on use your extra heads and hands. That was a problem that also came about as a collector. You know, having drawers full of hands and heads that, you know, you don't know what to do with. You don't have
I have
to keep them
to, I have
organized.
to give you a round of applause for that one, man. That is genius.
Yeah. So
And like,
no,
sorry, go ahead.
No. It definitely came from a place of having that frustration of not knowing what to do with these other extra pieces, and most, a lot of times losing them. So the hatchling is a little way to get a little extra bang for your buck and get 2 new figures from your one figure that you bought. And that's something I want to keep exploring and make sure like nothing goes to waste. There are a couple other ideas of like how to reuse pieces for different uses, so that you can really use everything since you bought all that, have all that up on display,
Right.
and not hidden in drawers and attics. It's a problem, but hopefully the hatchlings is a fun solution to it.
It's a great solution, and obviously one that came about from being a collector yourself and having the creative control. As opposed to being like a big corporation or something, you can just like, hey, here's an idea. I always lose my accessories instead of just saying, oh, here's a little plastic baggie that you can go with it, or here's a little plastic case to put all your extra stuff. Plunderlings came with these, or you could have gotten these hatchlings where you've essentially, using the extra parts, you've gotten additional full figures with the hand swaps and the additional heads.
Yeah.
I think is genius. And as a collector and someone buying this, you're getting so much more value from that than just leaving things in a box or in a display case, storage case or a plastic bag. So I'm really excited to hear that those will be hopefully made available again, because I did miss out on those.
It was a revelation, I think, during the Kickstarter. I don't think we had that set
Oh,
up
really?
before the Kickstarter. It was during the Kickstarter. All of a sudden, it was kind of like one of those ideas that kind of come to you in a dream or something. Like, we're like, we got to add this on. So we did. And also, speaking of accessories, Super Action Stuff makes some really cool cartoony accessories too that are play really well with Plunderlings too. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff that you can add on there, like bats and axes and food items.
Oh, nice. You spoke about the box a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree, like, this is one of the most unique toy boxes in the market. Right. Well, you have a whole wall of them. And if you guys don't know, there are actually ears inside the box, just like that. You can slot them into these holes here, make a Plunderling box as well. And another cool surprise on the back that I didn't know about until I think much later on, you can actually there's a VR embedded.
There's an AR app called Calypso. I would still say it's kind of in beta. We're improving on it. We actually should be pushing out an update to that soon, in the next few weeks, to improve it. But yeah, we really want to keep adding value to what you bought. I almost feel like it's DLC that we're adding. And in this case, it was free DLC with the app, because the app is totally free. But yeah, we're just so grateful for everyone who bought them. I still can't believe that people bought them. So we want to keep adding value to what they got. Keep adding more things that are compatible. Add more figures to the line. Keep everything being cross-compatible and fun. And that's kind of our north. Kind of like a fan first sort of attitude. Because at the end of the day, like, we're so grateful for everyone to let us do what we're doing. It really was amazing that the reception that we got, and the fact that the Kickstarter was successfully funded. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was like life-changing to the people involved, and we want to keep growing that, and we don't want to take that for granted. So the AR app is definitely an extra thing that was also developed at Lone Coconut, that we want the back of every single box. When you look at it, you get a little story, and we want to keep updating those stories as we move along and have more content to share.
Honestly, that was very, very cool. And when I heard about it, I'm like, man, they've planned this. They must have planned this like so far ahead.
I'll take credit for it and act like we're smarter than we are, but a lot of it is is kind of ideas that come up, and we're small enough and we're nimble enough that we can just change directions and add something new and tack on something like that when a good idea comes up.
Shaun, you're into a lot of G.I. Joe and Transformers. Are there any properties out there that interest you that aren't something new?
Well, I've always liked the articulate icons. I don't actually have any, but I have a thing for ninjas. I love ninjas. So that is something that I do like going towards. Plunderlings, of course. It's a great thing, and I do love the whole hatchable thing because it's kind of like a mini army builder, and you can go ahead and put all your accessories on it, so that's great. But in terms of anything else that's new, I think the whole action, I think it's Action Force. I believe I saw it on Foosh. That looks pretty interesting, especially with different kind of weaponry. I think vehicles as well. So I'm definitely excited about that.
Our local comic book store is like one of the only people in Canada that has units ordered directly from Action Force and from Bobby.
Yeah, I ordered a bunch though. I'm super excited about what Bobby's doing, and also articulated icons. I forgot to mention them earlier. I think those ninjas are perfect.
Well, I've had Bobby on Unboxing Thursdays before, and he has his own line, and you have your own line. There's obviously, like we said, instead of people rehashing old properties, you're both people who, saw something that needed to be done. You saw a way you wanted to do it, right? Bobby, like yourself, is unapologetically original. Like they want to do, you hold the reins to everything, and everything's done in your not in your image. That sounds like something biblical, or like your original vision.
Sure. I mean, again, I wouldn't go that far to take credit for everything. Again, we have a lot of concept artists, a lot of people involved that developed this. But yeah, I think what Bobby's doing is great, and I love to see these new indie Kickstarters show up. I think if anyone out there is thinking about doing an action figure Kickstarter, they should definitely, do the research. But I think it's kind of amazing how this is really opening up, how the process that used to be very closed doors, very impossible to connect to these factories around the world. Thanks to the internet, thanks to the help of a lot of great collaborators, it's actually possible to make an indie action figure. I think it's almost like a new genre almost that before was impossible to even like conceive of. There was a time where filmmaking cameras, even like a roll of film, would cost hundreds of dollars per second that you were shooting. And now you can fill up, a duffel bag of SD cards, and have, hundreds of thousands of hours of footage. It's really that changed and opened up the world to filmmaking. I don't think we're quite there with action figures because tooling and everything is still quite expensive. But I see at least the ability to communicate with these different assembly lines and production and warehouses, like all that is more easily accessible than ever. So it's definitely possible to make indie action figures now, which again was like an oxymoron before.
Well, yeah, I mean, after discovering Plunderlings, unfortunately for me, a little bit too late, I missed the Kickstarter. But when I did find out about it, I was like, okay, I'm really, this is something really cool. And it's kind of opened the door, or opened my eyes even to more indie toy companies, like you mentioned, more Kickstarters. Recently, Spiro Toys' Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is like my first Kickstarter that I've ever backed. Sorry, Ricky. But you kind of opened my eyes to that, and
you passed
it's
on
cool.
On McFarlane.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I'm not crazy enough about Spawn to get in on that. And it's kind of cool that you've also worked with Jason from Spiro Toys in the Plunderlings project.
Yeah, no, definitely. Spiro, I would say, was one of the first. Just seeing their successful Kickstarter was one of the first seeds that planted the idea of that this is something that could actually be done. I hope that that with Plunderlings, there's more of those seeds being planted. And Jason was integral at the beginning. We leaned on him hard for help. I think there was an even email chain that I had called like Action Figure Making 101 that I would that we had going on, where I'd just like pick his brain and ask how he managed to do it. And he did the master paints on our first samples, on our first 3D prints that we did. So yeah, I'm so happy that their Kickstarter is so successful right now, and I think that this new line is going to be amazing.
Also, with regards to the Plunderlings line, a lot of successful toy brands have movies, comics, TV shows behind it. Your line is already really doing really great. Do you have any plans to add additional media behind the property?
Yeah, nothing to announce yet. We don't have anything too concrete at the moment. We do have a little comic that we're working on that we're excited to start sharing, painted by Norimatsu Keiichi, who we also connected on Instagram. So we're really excited to be making that comic with him. We've dropped some panels and some posts to kind of share what we're kind of building with him. And yeah, we hope to build off of that soon. We just want to get a couple issues ready before we release them.
Very cool. How integral or how big has Instagram been for this project in terms of connecting with people? Instagram
100% was the connective tissue with a lot of these, especially with manufacturing. We got to connect with Chris, the Straight Poop 76 is his handle. He is the production manager for Horseman, and thanks to him, we got this really good factory that was able to produce the figures at the quality that we were looking for. And so, yeah, Instagram was really crucial in that sense. That once we started getting pictures out there, people started writing to us. Another thing that was 100% crucial was Robo from the Fush. Like, if it wasn't for those Fush weekly updates where he started mentioning us,
right?
These would still be 3D prints. Like, I have no doubt about it. That
oh wow,
we were just doing 3D prints and we're taking pictures of them, and Robo noticed it and started mentioning it in the YouTube videos, and that is what gave us the oxygen that we needed to grow it, and also got us more eyeballs, which is what got us people like Chris and other people involved in production to get this done.
Nice. Robo knows for sure.
I think we owe Robo everything. That's why we dedicated a Plunderling to them, called Flush, the blue
right one. No beard though. Any plans for a beard attachment for that?
Yeah, we have been talking about maybe magnetic beard attachments, but that's not in the cards for anytime soon.
Ricky, as the creative director, you oversee a lot of the artwork and the design for a line. A term that's been floating around a lot, something is toyetic. If someone says that about Plunderlings or like other lines, what does that word mean to you?
I think the original term toyetic came, if I'm not mistaken, from like the Kenner Star Wars line. The person in charge of that was saying that size was like the toyetic size, and that was kind of a term he would throw around. I might be mistaken about this. I think I saw that in the Toys That Made Us. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it means. But one thing that I've always felt that, I mean, there might exist a terminology. I just haven't been exposed to it. but I feel like we lack a terminology a little bit when it comes to action figures that would help us discuss it a little bit, and also to be able to talk about what exactly is experience that you're having when you have an action figure in your hands. The same way that all the different art studies have their own words and their own vocabulary that they use to kind of dissect and really discuss at depth like what makes even like a food plate special, or discuss what makes a film special or a comic book. The same way a comic book's not the same as a painting. I do think it's a different art style, and deserves to have its own lingo. I think sculptures and action figures are two different experiences. And,
right. Don't tell Todd McFarlane that.
And it would be great to be able to talk about it a bit more concretely, like have kind of a shared language. I feel like there's a little bit of a resistance to it because people don't like to intellectualize toys, since it's something that they like maybe because it's not intellectualized. It's something that it's an escapism. It's just something fun. But there's kind of a contradiction too, that people are saying that toys aren't for kids. That action figures are for. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, in a sense. I think there is something special about the qualities of an action figure, and I do think there are. Maybe terms like toyetic, that I would love to see like a more concrete definition of.
Right. It seems very, very blanketing, that phrase, right?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just like fun, but like, again, like kind of breaking down what makes a film fun, is worth discussing. And, like film critics have that arsenal of terminology. I feel like the YouTube reviewers have done a great job of breaking down the aspect of articulation, that really discussing the different terminologies for the articulation. I think that's an important step, but I feel like there's more to it. There's things like appealing shapes, both visually, like visual shapes that are, just fun to look at, like a lot of art toys or, have. And then you also have like shapes that are fun to hold too, like in your hand, that are like almost like, I don't want to talk about fidget, like our gadgets, but there's something there, some action figures that like they're pleasant to hold and to pose. That's more than just being able to pose. It's that they're a joy to do it. For example, the Amazing Yamaguchi, like not throwing any shade at them, like they're amazingly posable, but they're not necessarily fun to pose because they don't move in necessarily an organic way.
Okay.
Like Robo kind of mentions that they're kind of like a puzzle when you want to pose them, and I really agree with that. And I don't know. I can think of a couple different terms and different emotions that I feel when I have an action figure in my hand that I think are universal. That I feel like we can maybe start agreeing on some sort of on some sort of terminology, even stuff like like representation, like when you see a toy that looks like the character from the comic book, it transports you, that. So I think there's maybe an aspect of being, that it feels like you reached into the screen and pulled out that character, into a comic book, pulled out that character, and there's a certain enjoyment out of getting a physical representation, of accurate physical representation of that person. I feel like that's where the stuff like the face scanners that they're using at Hasbro to make the ultra real, face prints. But I don't think that, again, the reason why I'm talking about like maybe having a vocabulary for it is because it's not like if you do all these things, your toys are better. It depends what you're going for. It depends on the genre of toy you want to produce. Having an ultra real face isn't objectively better than a cartoony face. It's the same way that you can't say that that live action movies are better than animated ones. It's there's also more moving parts, and I feel like we should try to start defining those moving parts. But maybe I don't know if anyone else is feeling that way, but I have always felt that way a little bit. That there's a lot of interesting things happening when you design an action figure, and a lot of different interesting things to take into account. And and sometimes I feel like if there was a little more of a consensus of what these experiences were, we would be able to talk about them and identify them better. And when something's not working with an action figure, it'll be maybe easier to understand why too.
Right. I mean, the basics of language, right? We all have the same meaning from this word. So yeah, there are times when there's certain words that are lacking. For example, when you said like, "Oh, this is an accurate representation of the character's face onto an action," like you don't want to have to say that every time. Like if you hear an action, you hear a toy reviewer say it every time. This is a great blank word, right? Put it in there, and it means their face translated well from photoreal or whatever technology they used. But you know, there are a few terms, like stuff that I can recall. I know Bug Nice talks. I know often in his reviews he talks about playability of toys. You know, sometimes you get a toy that's so fun. Maybe, and I'm not saying just because you're here, but like Plunderlings, for example, one of the most fun things in recent times, where like you just can't put it down. Yeah. You just kind of want to have it all the time. You want to pose it. You want to have it doing this and that. You know, you have it next to you at work, something like that.
Yeah, there's something that we kind of wanted with Plunderlings too, that it was pocketable in a way. I wouldn't recommend putting it in your pocket because I don't want everyone to get damaged. But
pocketable sounds like you're stealing it.
Yeah, but I feel like it's something. It adds. I mean, to this figure in particular, not all figures should necessarily be pocketable, but you know, there's certain figures you put in your pocket. When you pull them out, you don't know if they're going to have their hands on. You know, the legs might be twisted backwards. You know, there's like a messiness to it. You know, to the articulation. Sometimes it's overly articulated too. You know, that it starts detracting from the experience of it feeling kind of like a solid figure. You know, that it starts feeling a little bit more doll-like in a way, you know, kind of like ragdoll, you know, like I think I think there's a lot of interesting ways to look at it, and yeah, I feel like eventually there will be a consensus of how to talk about them. What if you did a
Kickstarter, like a book? Are you an author, and then you can just write like the definitive lexicon or for toy collectors?
Yeah, I don't know if that's my fight to fight, but I'm just putting it out there. If someone wants to take that up. And maybe it exists, you know, maybe this whole thing is just me speaking to my ignorance. This dictionary already exists and I just haven't found it. But yeah, I really think that there's something special about toys. I feel really passionately about it. I really believe in this sort of the power that they have to kind of, you know, make you feel things, you know, and I feel like it's an art in its own right. And all the other arts get to be analyzed and divided up. And sometimes that does take away a little bit from the fun factor, you know, but I don't think this necessarily has to be like that, you know. You can both enjoy romantic comedies and have a film critic write about it at the same time. You know, I don't think they're necessarily at odds. But I think it would be helpful, you know, and also I don't think that that people involved in the action figure community are simply just reliving childhood memories. I think that they're doing something interesting, and they're giving experiences to each other when they make customs, when they do toy photography, when they when they make their own action figures, when they 3D print stuff. I do think they're creating something important, you know, and something that's transmitting an emotion that I think is worth. Maybe someone should look into it. That's all I have to say.
Just putting it out into the universe. Shaun, are there any toy specific vocabulary that you use often?
I mean, really it comes down to butterfly joints and an ankle pivot. That's really it for me.
But those are like actual.
Figure doesn't have that, then you know.
Oh man, Plunderlings doesn't have butterfly joints. We didn't make that, but we did think about it. We did think about it because its body is small enough, and its forearms are long enough that they basically reach each other, So I think the important part is that, they could dual wield an item, more than just putting articulation for articulation's sake. I think that's kind of looping back a little bit to what I was talking about earlier. I don't think more is better. I don't think more realistic is better. I don't think more accurately representing. I love the fact that the old Ninja Turtles didn't look like the animated version of the Ninja Turtles. Like, I think the design, I don't think the show would have been better looking more like the toys, and I don't think the toys would have been better looking more like the show. I think that they both kind of filled the shoes of the medium that they were in. Yeah. So I really think that, again, I don't think there's a linear progression of you check off these 6 marks and the action figure is going to be good. It's kind of a constellation, and also understanding what you're going for. Like, what's the experience you want to transmit when someone's holding this figure? I think, yeah. And then it doesn't have to be articulate, to give some credit to Todd McFarlane. If that's not what he's going for, that's not the feeling he wants to transmit to you. Right. It at the end of the day, it's only successful or not whether it landed with the person who's consuming it. Like, not to be redundant, but if you're going for a drama genre film, it's not worse because it has less jokes. I don't know. That's a terrible example, but I feel like there's certain genres of action figures and certain experiences you want to transmit with them.
Okay, Ricky, Shaun, thank you both very much for your time. I know you guys are very busy with all the various projects that you have, and so Shaun, thank you very much. Ricky, thank you very much for this little chat, kind of to get an insight into what kind of stuff you're into, kind of stuff you had to encounter with the line, and the trajectory of Plunderlings and the Plunderverse going forward. So again, thank you very much. Where can people catch up with you? Where can they follow you? Keep up with Plunderlings.
Sure. Yeah. Everything. The place where we're most up to date and update most is on the Instagram. We also have a Facebook page. They're both Plunderlings at Plunderlings. We have a Twitter too. But for kind of the more in-depth updates, you can just sign up for a mailing list on plunderlings.com. Just put in your email there. We don't send the emails out too often. We only send out emails when we have something to say. And there you can kind of get kind of the updates of what's coming up next, new releases, when certain pre-orders open up, etc.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me on.
And don't forget, you can still pre-order Plunderlings from BBTS and Entertainment Earth, going until they're gone, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And Shaun, where can people keep up with you?
Well, you can check me out on my Instagram at Hypefaction. But as always, you can see all our updates on what's going on with the brand at Instagram at TAxHF. You can find us on all our other social medias, which will be on Facebook, and on our website, www.taxhf.ca, where you can find these guys, which are still up for pre-order. You can get either one of the 3, and yeah.
Right, and those are available for pre-order until May the 2nd, right?
Yes.
Cool, and I'll have a link in the description, so if you guys are interested, definitely head on over after that. For me, you can follow me on Instagram at Toying Around. Twitter, I'm Toying Around, which I don't really know how to use because I'm an old man, and even worse, I have a TikTok. I haven't even posted anything. And for more toy news, for more toy unboxings, please consider following this YouTube channel right here at Toying Around. Shaun, Ricky, thank you both very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Thank you.
Keep toying around. Have a great night.